Skyscraper window cleaners. What is the most bizarre thing you've ever seen on the job? Once, while cleaning a high-rise apartment, an old lady kindly asked me if I was hungry and proceeded to open her window and hand me a pizza slice. So I sat there, 27 stories up, tangling on my chair and eating pizza. It was a good day. Not as exciting as the other stories, but something I'm blown away by when I'm on ropes is how many people feel guilty about not working when I'm around. When you look into people's workstations, you can see that almost no one works. Most people are on Facebook, YouTube, or on news sites. But the second they notice me outside of the window, they quickly switch to an Excel spreadsheet. Like they think I'm some kind of productivity spy about to rat them out to management. Keep cruising the internet, people, don't mind me. And also, pointing to the window and saying, "You missed a spot," isn't funny. F you. I've been a rope access window cleaner for a couple of years and have seen my fair share of weirdness. A couple incidences that strike out are a young couple having fun that invited me to join, an apartment in a ritzy building completely empty other than a table with several sheets of freshly printed uncut $100 bills, a real goddamn mummy sarcophagus. Been offered several doobies, hits, and various adult beverages while hanging off the side of a building. Animals were always my favorite though. Cats and puppies lose their minds seeing you outside their window and will happily chase your mop and squeegee while you work. Always brighten the day. Another memorable moment was causing a mild panic in the dining room of a local retirement home dementia ward. We felt bad and went as quickly as we could, but the nurses laughing their butts off as they tried to contain the pandemonium made us feel slightly better. Not a skyscraper window washer, but was a janitor who had to wash the windows in a 6-story building as part of my job. So I used a mix of ladders and rappelling down from the roof with a harness to clean the windows outside. One day I was washing the outside windows on the executive floor where all the bosses and higher-up employees had their offices. I was done with one window, so I moved to the next window and looked in and saw the CEO of the company snorting something in his office with the door locked and the lights off. He looked up and saw me in the window, and we made an uncomfortable eye contact for about 15 seconds. Then I just pretended I saw nothing and kept washing the windows. Never spoke a word about it to him or anyone in the office, but the last day I worked there, he gave me a farewell card with $200 in it and a free solar-powered portable phone charger that the company produced and sold. Hey, is this Riley Freeman in the future? Because this guy said no snitching. One time in college, I answered a help wanted ad for a window cleaner. I thought it was going to be one of those high-rise jobs. Instead, when I showed up to the interview, it was some disheveled-looking guy in a parking lot. I spent the day with him going from house to house, cleaning people's windows. He told me to pretend I was his nephew, and he kept introducing me to customers that way. Then, when we're cleaning windows, he kept telling me his fantasies of getting with housewives. It was super weird. Plus, he chewed tobacco and while driving would spit the juice between his legs onto the floor of his ratty truck. Then, at the end of the day, he told me it was just an audition and tried not to pay me. One of the strangest days of my life. I am a window cleaner, but not high-rise. The thing I can never understand is when I see lip prints where people have kissed the glass in public buildings. People, if you saw what I clean off of those every week, you would never touch the glass, especially not with your lips. Since a lot of people are asking when the glass is super dirty, it's usually grease, old condiments, bird poop, salt from the sidewalk, and a lot of the time I can't even tell what it is, I just know it looks and smells bad. My uncle is a former window cleaner, and he said his most memorable moments were when he lived and worked in Rotorua, which at the time was the crime capital of New Zealand. The most bizarre was when he saw some naked guy, obviously high on something, getting Benny Hill chased up and down a street by the police. The second most bizarre was when he heard a crash followed by a van tire bouncing down the street that was being chased by a massive Maori guy, who proceeded to throw the tire over his shoulder and wander off whistling as if nothing had happened. Not me, but my uncle has been doing it for years and had many weird encounters, but this one is kinda sad. Having changed companies, he started at this new apartment building. Near the top, there was this old lady with a dog. The dog was young and always excited to see him. Eventually, he started talking to this woman when he was working through a small window. They became somewhat friends. Then one day, almost a year on the job, he went up and for the first time, the apartment was empty except for the dog, which he found odd. So when he was finished up, he tried to check and see if she was in, but got no reply. A day later, a member of staff from the apartment block, I think it was the landlord but can't remember, got back to him and told him that she passed away and that she had no family. Assuming that my uncle knew her, the landlord asked about the dog, seeing if there was anything that could be done. My uncle, being the kind fella he was, took the dog. Nearly 10 years later, my uncle still has the dog, a little terrier named Pumpkin. A lot of y'all are going to be really jealous, but there's an attached image of Pumpkin and he's really cute. Well, I was watching the outside of the window at the group home I work at. State was coming by later that week and I was super bored. I walk up to one of my dude's bedroom windows to wash it off and apparently he hears me outside somehow, even though he had his radio turned up to about 9,000 like he always does. He rips up his blinds, totes naked and starts slapping himself repeatedly in the forehead and screaming. This was pretty normal for him, but it's definitely the strangest thing I've ever seen so far in my life while washing a window. What I got was a lot of flirting. I don't know if the pane of glass gave them a sense of safety or if a lot of office chicks are just bored or if our red overalls were particularly fetching, but something brought out the bachelorette instinct. Notes pressed against the glass, pretend lesbian performances, you name it. Only seemed to happen when there was a group of ladies though. My grandfather met my grandma while working as a window washer. He put his phone number right up against the glass of her office and hoped she wrote it down. She did, and called, and they've been married for 60 years. That is quite sweet. I wasn't expecting a story like that in here. My ex was a high-rise window cleaner and he always talked about the crazy things women did. It seems like the glass gives them a sense of security and they do things that I don't think they'd do if that glass wasn't there. Women flashing and pressing their chest against the glass, mooning and pressing their butt cheeks on the glass, writing their phone number and pressing it against the glass. There was one point where we were engaged and he would hold his finger up and point to his ring. It didn't seem to stop some of the women. In fact, it made some of them try harder, he said. He did say the hardest for him were the children's hospitals and when he'd clean the windows of the very sick children. This company did do the dress up as superheroes thing while they cleaned the windows, which made it fun for the kids, but he said it was still heartbreaking for them. I was in King's Cross in Sydney about 15 years ago when I finished my drop and landed on a lower roof. I witnessed a working girl giving a guy in a wheelchair service. He looked at me and gave me a thumbs up, nearly fell over laughing. Window cleaner here. I have a few stories of cleaning high-rises that still make me chuckle. 1. My coworker, who no longer works there, always used to crap his pants, like had an issue, but never took care of it medically. I don't know, but it was always a joke. One day after lunch, we were strapping up to go over the site, and he turns to me and says, "Dude, how quickly do you think we can get this drop done?" Me, "It's only a 7-story, so maybe 30 minutes or so." Why? Him, "All right, let's go." It was a goofy edge, so sometimes we would hand each other our buckets of water. The second I handed him his water, he screams into my face, "God damn it!" What I witnessed next was probably the quickest descent I've ever seen as he's cursing the entire way down the rope. Absolute hilarity for clarification. Yes, he indeed crapped himself. Another story. Different co-worker, there were 3 of us that dropped next to each other. One of them loved screwing with people on the inside. This was a dorm about 25 stories or so. Near halfway down the building, you can really start swinging, and he yells at me and the other guy to swing over to him. On his drop was a college girl passed out on the windowsill. Him, on the count of 3, slam your suction cups on the glass and scream. We proceeded to scare the living crap out of this poor girl. She fell off the sill almost immediately. It ended with everyone laughing. She took a selfie with us and she later met us at the bottom of the building and punched all of us playfully. She had a good spirit about it. I was once cleaning a skyscraper where I know nearly everyone that works there. I saw a job interviewer having gay sex with another guy, probably someone he interviewed. The interviewer, who is straight, married and has kids, gave me $500 not to tell anyone. Easiest money I ever made. He didn't snitch. Riley Freeman would be proud. My uncle has been doing this job for over 20 years, so I've heard a few weird stories from him. 1. A woman filming smut. 2. A sign on a window asking them not to clean the bathroom window. Obviously, not knowing which window was to what room, they went about their jobs. The bathroom had skinned rabbits hung up. 3. A hoarder whose windows were slowly being hidden by the years of collections. 4. A famous footballer who was not with his wife. Not long after this, the company were asked to sign NDAs. 5. What looked like a murder scene. Uncle reported it, but was later told it was fake blood for a TV show that was filming there. His favorite, number 6, a dog breeder. Okay, breeder might not be the right word. Someone who had 2 litters, and every 4 weeks he went back to clean the building and got to see the pups growing up. When he went back there and they were roughly 12 weeks, there was 1 pup left. He asked for her, and now he's got a rottie called Holly. There was a point where I was thinking to myself, I bet this is just going to be repeatedly, I saw two people getting it on, but you know what, that's actually been pretty scarce. I don't clean windows, but I work from scaffolding and do rope access work on high-rises and skyscrapers in New York City all the time. It's not that often I see something bizarre, and I'll see into hundreds of apartments a year, so I honestly feel many of the posts in here are made up. Sure, you occasionally see the caught-off-guard tenant, but if you do see someone, they usually just wave and shut their curtains/blinds. The most bizarre thing I've seen, though, has to be when I found a section of loose brick about 15 stories up. I removed them to put them in my satchel as usual and found dozens of used condoms shoved behind the brick. Like, how the hell? I still have no idea to this day. I think our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has been doing some freaky stuff with Mary Jane, and he's hiding his used condoms behind that brick like squirrels storing their nuts for winter. Dropped in on a dude throwing kitchen knives at a dartboard and an undersized pink robe. Skipped that window. I work for my dad's window cleaning business in Scotland, and while cleaning a couple windows, ground floor bungalows, I stumbled across the couple having sex in the living room window. They made eye contact with me and didn't stop. Probably the most awkward experience of my life, but you better believe I finished the job and took my £20 tip. Maybe you haven't thought about this that much, but I'm pretty sure they used you as an accessory, mate. We don't do high-rises, but I've seen my fair share of nudity. One dude was doing calisthenics buck naked in front of his window overlooking the lake. Another trip to the same house and his wife dropped her robe and took a bath, knowing full well we were there. I think these people overestimate how strong their tint is. Favorite story involves two new guys on a roof washing some skylights. I'm on the ground having a chat with the homeowner when I get a text that says, "We can see someone in the shower. Great chest." I thought, weird, I'm talking to the wife right now. Who are they looking at? A few minutes later, and her heavy-set husband comes outside with wet hair. There's also the time I took a dump in the backyard of an NHL player's house, but that's a bit off topic. When I used to work as a window cleaner for a building in West Hollywood, I would often see lots of famous people in the building. Not mega famous people, but kind of well-known actors and such. One day I was just cleaning the window as normal. This particular window had the blinds down while I was cleaning. One side of the blinds broke down and I saw a celebrity licking his dog's junk. I can't erase that image. It wasn't a high-rise, but I used to be a residential window washer, and sometimes clients would want the inside cleaned in addition to the outside. First worst was a morbidly obese man who was living at home, I believe on hospice care, but definitely at least with a full-time nurse. The man chain-smoked inside his house non-stop. When we cleaned the inside, the water was yellow coming off the glass. Second was the home of the city's university president, absolutely disgusting. We would find old dog crap lying around, walked into their kitchen, dishes were everywhere, and a frying pan had a couple of photos soaking in some kind of oil grease. That just sounds like an absolute pigsty. Does anyone remember that show, How Clean Is Your House? Ex-repelling window cleaner here, saw a co-worker mix up his main line with his safety line. The harness was rated for the thicker rope and he never engaged. He fell 5 stories before bouncing off an entryway overhang made of concrete and hitting the ground. Nothing too crazy, but I worked for my stepdad's company who had very sketchy equipment and no safety ropes or vests to make sure you don't plunge to certain death or permanent injury. We used the stack ladders. These ladders are very hard to assemble if you lacked upper body strength. Also, you very much want someone at the bottom holding you if you stacked 3 or more ladders. For gravity and sudden strong winds, that'll make you regret every decision you've ever made in your life when you get hit by one. Typing this out, our dangerous setup is the craziest part of this story. Anyways, I had 6 ladders stacked and I'm cleaning a 3rd-story window at a private residence, and as soon as I make the climb up the ladder into the window, I scared the crap out of a parrot sitting in a cage on the other side. This frickin' parrot lets out this shriek that scared the crap out of me because I didn't see the parrot at first. I was already nervous being 3 stories up on a sketchy ladder. I swear I almost fell backwards. I just hugged the ladder and wet myself and had to go back down because I was so shook. Climbing down was so nervous, and I've done it with ease before, but once you get used to it, and a short guy like I am, you don't get scared unless an unexpected parrot frickin' screams at you. My opa was a window washer. 2 things stand out. Once, he helped the police find a robber who was hiding. My opa had a bird's eye view. Another was when he saved a nurse in a psych ward who had been taken hostage by a patient. Dude had locked himself inside a room with her, and my opa had the master key. He went in and tackled the guy. Both times were back before the platforms. He'd hang outside of the windows with a leather belt that attached to a hook on the outside of both sides of the window. Well, your opa sounds like a pretty good guy. My buddy is a window cleaner over here in Philly, and last week on the job he was cleaning the windows, and a flock of birds started to attack him. He fell off of the platform, dangled there hanging from his safety harness, and fought back with his squeegee as a weapon. Not window washing related, but but I feel like this story goes along the type of glimpsing into windows vibe that you're looking for. My wife and I moved into our apartment about 5 years ago, and pretty shortly afterward, a house was built right across the alley from us. No big deal, it's kind of a developing suburb, whatever. It was cool watching the house go up from an empty lot over the course of however many months. Well, the house was built, and then a year went by, and there were never any people around. Never a car in the driveway, never kids running around, or any sign that anybody was moving in. But there were always lights on. Like, it was kinda just on display. For a couple of years, it seemed like some real estate company just decided to build a house and never got around to selling it. This isn't that weird. There's a lot of property and houses for sale in our area. We were convinced that it was literally just a big, empty house. One night, wife and I decided to just look inside the one of the back windows, because hey, big empty houses are cool. The backyard was still kind of an empty dirt lot and there was no fence. It was literally a 15-foot walk from where we would park our car every night. So honestly, not trying to do anything creepy, just trying to see what the interior of this big, new house looked like, we walked up and looked. Following our line of sight, our view was through the exterior window into what looked like a nice kitchen, past that a hallway, and directly through the open door of a bathroom where we saw an elderly woman with white, disheveled hair sitting on the toilet, weeping. We had no idea this house was inhabited at all, and we just witnessed what seemed like a pretty intimate moment. Or maybe every moment in that house was like that, who knows? We felt like we crossed such a line, it was so disturbing and unsettling. We went straight into our apartment and went to bed. The house is still there. We have no idea who actually lives there. Top 5 of one of the weirdest, most uncomfortable moments of my life. Honestly, if that were me, the next day I would have knocked on the door, explained that I had no idea someone lived there, and just, seen if the lady needed anything or if something was wrong. And yeah, I know, it's not a window cleaning story, but I thought it was kind of funny. I worked as a commercial window cleaner for 2 years in the 90s, and one of my many window cleans involved cleaning the air traffic control tower glass. The controller had to visually identify the planes as they talked to the pilots. Anyway, after one of my not-so-good window washing efforts, the controller wrongfully identified an aircraft through his window and refused a passenger plane access to the runway. This cost many thousands in extra fuel and delayed several flights for the day. I lost my job and my employer lost the contract, all because of that damn middle bit of the window. Not only did you ruin your own day, but you also ruined the day of many other people. My God, what a catastrophic event to come from poorly cleaning a window. I'm not even sure if that's true though, because I'm pretty sure you have like codes and stuff you have access to get onto like airfields or strips or something like that, because I've flown a plane and I'm pretty sure I remember the pilot, the main pilot that I was like flying with or who was watching my experience was telling me about these things. Not a window washer, but an engineer who does bosun chair drops for inspection or testing. We sometimes have hoses, so everybody thinks we're the window washers anyway. One residential tower, I got to a room with a doctor's examination table, with the stirrups used in a gynecological exams in a bedroom. The rest of the room definitely wasn't a doctor's office. On a shelf on the wall, a lot of toys, like dozens of them. Never got to see anybody going at it on a job, but I could hear them one time. Some guy had a bearded dragon almost fully grown just crawling around its office. It scared the living daylights out of me. Not a window washer, but a commercial window glazer. I was working on something like the 5th floor of a university campus office building. Sometimes we do windows that butt up to each other, so we caulk in between them with heavy-duty caulk. With this caulk, it is extremely common that we lick our middle fingers and use that to tool the caulk smooth. Gross, I know. We do that all the time. We can't see inside if there is anyone in there hardly ever. Well, some lady thought we were gesturing to her in an asexual way and called security on us. Oh, I don't know why this just reminded me of a misunderstanding of my own, where in high school my friends and I were messing around with my football and it went down the stairs, so I went to pick it up and my head accidentally went under a year 11 girl's skirt when I was in like year 8, I think, so all I see is her butt or something, and she turns around and goes, "You perv," and slaps me across the face. She slapped the crap out of me. And I'm just standing there like a bundle of nerves trying to be like, no, I went to pick up my ball. It's just, no. Not a window cleaner, but I inspect high-rise buildings' facades using the same type of scaffolding. We were doing a 53-story apartment building, and one of the apartments had a doll room. All of the dolls were incredibly creepy and looked very similar to the doll from Saw. I gotta say, Saw is one of those franchises I have never been able to get into. The torture aspect, I think, is what gets me. Like, I like a good horror movie or a slasher. The Scream trilogy by Wes Craven is honestly one of my favorite trilogies, actually. My girlfriend also showed me Texas Chainsaw Massacre recently, which I thought would be absolutely terrifying ever since I was a kid. Like, Leatherface freaked me out as a child, honestly. Then again, lots of things did, like Chucky. But no, it was well good, and I really love that stuff. But Saw, nah. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. And if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Linked in the description below.